Hello, mixtresses and mixters. This is Mixtress Ray. You're watching Mixtress video, and I'm gonna do something crazy right now. Okay, so I've done this one other time. I was trying to start a hashtag called Franken Tarot deck or something like that, but no one was interested, probably because this is the most time-consuming thing ever to do with your tarot collection. And many people have much larger collections than I do. So here's the thing. This is something that I do once I actually get it done. I find it to be kind of a relaxing thing to do, which is I put all my tarot decks in order and I go through the imagery of each one and just kind of in the past I have picked my favorite and then made one Franken tarot deck. I'm not going to do that this time. This time I'm just going to kind of look at the symbolism of each card and kind of talk about it with you guys. Obviously, this might be a very long video. Obviously, you can see how long it ended up being. But this time I'm going to do a slight bit of editing. I'm going to pause it when I'm taking the cards off so that you guys don't have to see me going, okay, take this one off, take this one off, take this one off. So that way it might be a slightly shorter video than it ended up being last time. And you can't see it, I'll probably show you at the end, I have an ottoman, one of those storage ottomans. I'm gonna literally throw all the cards into there as I'm going, so it's gonna be a giant mess of cards at the end. There is one tarot deck that I own that is not here for two reasons. One, it's the one I'm using this week, so I didn't want to put it in order. It's my working deck for the week. But two, it is a circular deck, so it was going to make it all weird visually to have one circular deck in here. So the Gorgonz Tarot, which is one that I just got last week, and I've got dog hair everywhere. So just disregard that. So I thought this would be a fun, relaxing thing for us to do together because I guess I don't really need to tell you about this, but it's just something that I'm going through right now. I have exhibited some minor symptoms of COVID, and so the way that it works in my area, which I actually just found out today that there are other options. There's a different test that I could have taken, but I only knew about one, and it's a free test that you go to the Walmart parking lot and anyway, whatever. I only knew that we had one option available and I didn't find out until today. Anyway, long story, still long. I was feeling symptoms for several days before I even connected the fact that maybe this is symptoms of COVID. And so I went to schedule a test. This was last Thursday. Today is Wednesday. I wasn't able to schedule the test until today, and this particular test takes 3 to 5 days for the results to come in. So basically, I've been feeling symptoms at this point for about a week and a half, and I am much better. I'm almost completely symptom free at this point. So even if my test does come back positive, I will likely be well outside the days of me being, and of course I've been quarantining, so I will, anyway, it's just been such a long process because I've basically been quarantining since I scheduled the test, which was 6 days ago, since I realized that I should schedule a test and scheduled it 6 days ago. And today I finally got the test, and now it'll be 3 to 5 more days before I find out. And I just had to miss work this entire time. And anyway, I just thought that that's a whole big long story just to say that I thought that this might be a relaxing thing for us to do together. So I just realized I don't have a drink in here, and I definitely need one for this. So, okay. Okay, so first of all, I just want to say, legit, this took, I should have looked at the time before I started putting all of my decks in order, but I didn't. But I'm pretty sure it took over 2 hours for me to put them all in order. And I was going pretty fast. I was watching YouTube and stuff while I was doing it, so I did look up occasionally. But man, that is so time consuming. Okay, so let's look at the Fool, even though that's what we've been looking at this whole time. I wanted to, these are in no particular order except for I did put Modern Witch and the Smith Waite. I did put them in the very middle on purpose because I wanted them to be right next to each other. And since this is like the most iconic tarot imagery to me, I did want that to be kind of front and center. Not that we're comparing everything against it necessarily, but I wanted that. So, not sure exactly, like, with this many images in front of you, like, what do you say? You know, here's the ultimate unfair comparison. What do you say? I love this one because this is from Moon Power. So maybe I should go through and tell you what each of these decks are, just in case you don't know. This is Tarot of the Divine, Dark Angels, Dark Wood, Shadowscapes, Tarot of the Cat People, Everyday Tarot, Santa Muerte, Wild Unknown, Smith Waite, Modern Witch, Marigold Tarot, Children of Letha, or Litha. Most people say Litha, but I like saying Letha. It might be wrong. Star Child, this is the reissue of the first edition that just came out a couple months ago. This is Moonchild. Muse Tarot, this is a mass market edition. Moon Power, Halloween Tarot. This is Vision Quest. This is That 90s Tarot. This is Sasarai Bito. Yeah, so that's everybody. So obviously the Fool, perfect imagery, all of these for the most part. I don't love this like clown, just it being called clown, but hey, that's just me. Okay, now that we've talked for a very long time and only shown one card, let's keep going. Okay, this is gonna take me like 3 hours to record because I just had to pause it for like 30 full seconds just to take the cards off, and they're all gonna get messed up every time I pick up a card, and oh my god, why did I decide to do this? Okay, but we're doing it. We're doing it. This is one of those things that, like, it's probably gonna be fun to watch, so I just gotta get out of my own way and let it happen. I think there are only probably 3 of these magicians I don't really like. I like the idea of this one on the Muse Tarot, but I just don't love the actual imagery, the execution. And this guy doesn't really work for me in Moonchild. But most of the rest of these I do really like, actually. Love this one. And of course, like, my eye goes directly to Modern Witch because that is probably my favorite magician card here. Because it has all the traditional symbolism and the color. I realized lately that one of the things that's really, really kind of a deal breaker for me, the 2 things that are a huge deal breaker to me that are kind of silly are, or maybe they're not silly, but I just wouldn't have expected this particular thing in myself, but one of the 2 things that are a deal breaker to me are cardstock and color. Like, if I hate the cardstock, it's hard for me to get past that. And if I don't like the color scheme, it's hard for me to get past that. I don't love the color scheme in a lot of the cards in Muse Tarot. I don't love the color scheme in a lot of the cards of Tarot of the Divine. But for most of the rest of these decks, I appreciate the color scheme, and that's important to me. But you definitely get a sense of as above, so below in a lot of these cards, sort of that drawing down of energy from above and making it come out below. And with this one, Shadowscapes, I love how he's conjuring like this little green orb of energy. And he's got his tools hanging off of his wings. Okay, time for High Priestess. With High Priestess, you really have the... Sorry for the sound inconsistency, because when I'm standing up and pausing it, my voice will be much closer to the mic. With High Priestess, you really have the potential, in my mind, like, there are things that are more important than this, obviously, but you really have the potential to have a figure that is just a fucking badass looking woman, you know? And you definitely have that with most of these cards, for sure. I like that in Vision Quest Tarot, the High Priestess is called Medicine Woman. Oh, I never did change this one. Jeez. Okay. That's probably going to happen more than once. Hopefully I'll notice every time. Favorites. I love the one from Santa Muerte. I love her so much. Symbolism that I really like to see. It's not necessarily a deal breaker if I don't see it, but I really like to see a book or a scroll or some sort of symbol of knowledge. Like this one's fine for me because I can see that this orb contains all the answers to the universe. I mean, duh, obviously. And this one, it's a pomegranate, which is okay, but like I would rather save the pomegranate for being in the Empress card. This one, it's also a pomegranate, but we do have an owl. I would love to see, just personally, I would love to see an animal companion in pretty much every single card. So the fact that we have kind of an owl or a bat or something in this one, we have an owl in that one. I like that we have, it's hard to see probably, especially with being so far away, but there's like a crow here, owl here, there's a feather here, obviously you got the cat and a bat, and this one. So the only ones here that I'm disappointed in are the ones that don't have an animal companion or that don't have a good symbol of knowledge. So like this one, I don't really love. Like, she doesn't look particularly knowledgeable about the universe, in my opinion. But, so I would say this is probably my least favorite of the High Priestesses. Okay, let's move on to Empress. Okay, so, cliches of the Empress. Of course, you've got a pregnant Empress. I think I only, I only have 2 pregnant Empresses in my collection. Any of these Empresses bother me particularly? Just this one in Muse. Just because she doesn't... I see that she's got, like, you know, all the planets within her, but she just doesn't look mature enough to be an Empress, just in my opinion. Say what you will about Wild Unknown. I know it's just like, it's a very overrated deck, but I still love it. It was really good for me at the beginning of my tarot journey because I literally was not ready to see people in my cards yet. It was like, I was so far behind in my psychological journey that like, and I think of like tarot reading as being like therapy and kind of a tool to help in psychological development. And I was so far removed from being ready to confront my feelings on a lot of things that I literally could not have a deck that had human faces in it. So it was important to me at the time, and I still think it's important because it's because of that reason, because you can really work through some things with this deck. Like once I was working with this deck for a little while, I was ready to move on and actually see people in my cards. And for a long time, I wasn't ready to see men in my cards, you know, so just like it was a stepping stone that was very important to me. So just gonna say that, because I know, like, I don't know, it can be triggering to see something that's just like, you're so fucking used to seeing it. You know, these 2 decks right here, like y'all have seen these images a gazillion times, you know? So love most of these Empresses, I would say. God, if I were going to pick a favorite, I mean, Modern Witch is just, it's everything to me in a lot of ways. But I love this Empress too. And this one. She might be like a little too sexy for me just because I'm gray sexual, so that's triggering for me personally. But also love that one. Yeah, okay, let's move on to Emperor. So I'm really triggered by Emperor in general, but for the most part, most of these Emperors do not trigger me because I probably wouldn't keep the deck in most instances if the Emperor triggered me. However, I can see two examples where I'm completely contradicting what I just said, because this Emperor bothers me, and so does this one. This one's just a little too violent for me, so I'm looking forward to, since Alexandria Huntington is going to create other decks that you can substitute cards, essentially, if you get her other decks in the future. And so I'm looking forward to a different depiction of an Emperor from her that I can switch out eventually. Although that will probably be years before that happens, but this is one of my favorite decks. I mean, there's quite honestly, there's only a few of these cards that I do like, and this is just another one of my having problems with masculinity issues that I just have. I love Ricky from My So-Called Life as being, this was one of the reasons why I got this deck, to be honest. I'm totally cool with Frankenstein's monster being an Emperor, just because this is a cheeky deck. You don't have to take anything too seriously. I am totally cool with the Emperor being substituted as an animal. I'm totally cool with this Emperor. This is probably, like, when I think of the Emperor card, this is the card that I think of, because I kind of have to take a step back. Like I said before, my psychological development is not really very good with men, so I definitely take it even further back. Like, if I want to think of the Emperor as a positive card, which it is supposed to be a positive card, but I think we're very much in a reversed Emperor moment, millennia, in our society. So, like, this is probably my favorite Emperor card, honestly. Okay, let's move on to Hierophant. This one is called Shaman. What other different names? We have High Priest here. And that's it. Everybody else is called Hierophant. I like the Coven being represented here in Moon Power as Hierophant. I like kind of a different Hierophant card. I like that this person doesn't have a face. This person is kind of like a whole galaxy inside this cloak. I kind of like that. I love this one as the tree with sort of the archaic symbols on a scroll. Love the crow as a Hierophant. If I had to, I love this, like, with the Ouija board. Hierophant is another one, like, not super into it as a concept in general. If I were going to pick a least favorite, it would definitely be this one. I've talked about this before, but, like, just like naked model hanging out on a rock, that's not a teacher to me. Most favorite would probably be the crow. All right, let's move on to Lovers, which is my soul card. You guys see everything? Okay, I think you can. Sorry, I know the angle's a little strange, but the way that my tripod, it doesn't hang over the table very far, so it has to be kind of angled to get everything in there, so I apologize for that. Lovers being my soul card, I am, as one might expect, a little particular about Lovers cards. I love the cheekiness of Tarot of the Cat people, the fact that these two, like, kind of older looking people have two cats with their little tails entwined. I like the androgynous sex going on in this Lovers card. But by far my favorite Lovers card of all time is from Marigold. I just love that they're meeting each other completely eye to eye, that they are completely tuned into each other. And even though I don't really see the Lovers card necessarily as that sort of traditional Lovers energy, I still get what I need from that card, because I think it's about noticing that you are just as important as every other being, every other sentient being in the universe. And this one's kind of interesting because this is the Dark Angels? Dark Angels? I think it's Dark Angels Tarot. There's a sort of like a four, what's a thruple but four? A fourple? So it's like, I like alternative relationships being shown on the Lovers card. So here we see a double of Liz Phair. So that's kind of like self-love. This is two women. This is anyone, because, you know, like I've said before, butts are gender neutral. Obviously, like, both of these figures are skeletons, but more than that, they're both wearing bridal, Punjabi bridal outfits. This is genderless here in Sasarai Bito. This is pretty androgynous in Children of Letha. So the only thing that really triggers me with the Lovers card is when it's white heteronormative, which of course you have that in several of these cards, including one of my new favorites, Darkwood Tarot. Like, I don't really love that card. Let's move on to Chariot. Here in Vision Quest, Chariot is called Spiritual Warrior, which I like. What do I look for in a Chariot card? Just, you know, wind in your hair, kind of self-driven movement. I think for me, I don't need all of the like Rider-Waite-Smith symbolism in a Chariot card. But I do like to see a nod to Cancer and sort of the wind in your hair moment. Doesn't have to be actually literally on some kind of chariot. I like when you get weird with the Chariot card. You know, I'm totally fine with a unicorn being a Chariot card. I'm totally fine with someone riding on the back of an oversized rat. This is a rat of unusual size, and I love it. This is one of my very favorites. I like this, just sort of like summoning up the energy of all these horses and projecting it out. I really love this card. I really love this, sort of he's got the moon, and just putting yourself, you as the horse. I'm totally into that. Would have been a little happier, just since this is like a gothic deck, I would have been a little happier with Darkwood having like a crow as a chariot or something instead of a bald eagle. Just, it's triggering imagery for me because of just like America, that kind of crap. I totally get Janet Jackson being chariot, so I like most of these cards, to be honest. I'm fine with riding on a bicycle. If I were to pick a least favorite, I mean, I really don't like this one very much, but I think it might be this one, Dark Angels, because I like the image. It's a cemetery. I love cemeteries, but like, it just doesn't really say chariot to me. And this one, I don't know, just because this horse kind of looks masculine and angry. People don't really often deviate with the Strength card. The Strength card is almost always chick with a lion, you know? The only ones here that aren't, this is chick with a tiger, this is dude with a puma, this is Mary J. Blige, this could be anything. This is, you know, wrestler. I actually really do like this one, Tarot of the Divine, because it's a creature, I forgot what it's called, but it's got the head of a crocodile, the top half of a lion, and then the bottom half of a hippopotamus. I like this Strength card, kind of like facing off against, you know, your own innate power, Kundalini energy. God, my fingers are teal because of that 90s tarot. I edged it in teal and it leaks on me every time I use it. So as far as like deviating a little bit from the traditional symbolism, I think my favorite depiction based upon that would be the Darkwood Tarot. However, I appreciate most Strength cards. I don't think you have to do a whole lot. I mean, I have to like it, but it's not specific symbolism that I'm looking for in strength, except just the general idea. Let's see. Is that going to be my favorite, though? I don't know. I love the one of Children and Letha, too, because she is also a creature. And I mean, I'm not pointing it out that often just because it's a 3-color deck, so sometimes it kind of fades in the background with these other kind of louder decks around it, but Marigold Tarot is my kind of like soul deck. This deck is my number one as far as like just clutching my chest and being like, oh, this deck gets me. It's number one. So even though I'm not pointing it out that often, I love it. And as you'll see, I put it, even the decks where strength is 11, I put them all here so you could see strength all at the same time, which I probably didn't need to explain that. You guys understand, because I prefer strength to be an 8. I prefer the astrological order. Let's go on to Hermit. Hermit. Okay, so most Hermit cards too are pretty typical. There's like that inner light, and most of them do not deviate too much. This one would probably be my least favorite, Sasarai-Bito, just because it just doesn't feel like a lot of emotion is expressed in this image to me personally, whereas most of the images in Sasarai-Bito, the thing that I like about them is because they're so emotional and so visceral. I think that she does that really well most of the time, but with this particular image, it doesn't work for me. I love this. Just like the whole shape-shifting energy of the Major Arcana in Children of Letha is everything to me. I love it so much. I agree with you, Casper, if you're watching. This kind of cardstock, though, even though it smells good and it's nice to touch, it's so difficult to work with, to get cards moving with. Like that whole like super buttery soft matte finish is just like a little, that rose petal kind of finish is, I don't prefer it. I really don't. I like a matte cardstock like the Wild Unknown that's like a little slippy. Okay, that's not what we're here to talk about. I'm kind of disappointed with how traditional this Darkwood Tarot image is. Like, I think it's a beautiful image, but just a person in a hood holding a lantern. Like, we can do more. We can do more. Don't particularly love this one being renamed Serenity, because I don't really think I mean, yes, the Hermit figure is a serene figure, but it just isn't the right word for me personally. And that's the only one here that's been renamed. All the rest of these are Hermit. Unless, you know, with this one, it doesn't actually say. God, if I were to pick a favorite, though, it might be this one. Just because I am just so drawn to animal imagery. So, like, a lot of my favorites are gonna go to Wild Unknown. Okay, let's move on to Wheel of Fortune. Okay, first of all, how could I not have mentioned Fiona Apple as the Hermit? Most perfect, like if you're gonna have a pop culture deck, like Fiona Apple needs to be the Hermit. She needs to. Okay. Wheel of Fortune is another one that I feel like people seem to be drawn to picking very similar imagery with Wheel of Fortune a lot of times. I like that this one's called the Small Medicine Wheel. I think it's called Big Medicine Wheel when you get to the World card in this deck. I like that this one has the seasons and the zodiac signs in it. That's sort of like, I like a Wheel of Fortune card that brings in the element of the passage of time. Even though I probably should get that sense when I look at the traditional RWS style versions of the Wheel of Fortune, I don't really get that when I see them. Like this one, and that one. But I do get a sense of time with the Santa Muerte here. And with this one for sure. And I don't know why it makes sense to me. I couldn't articulate it, but Bjork as a Wheel of Fortune, yeah, I get it. I get it. If I were to pick a favorite, again, I'm probably going to pick this one because this sort of like idea that you weave your own future and it's a fucking mess, but what you wove into the fabric of your wheel will come back around. I just get that sense very clearly with this image in Wild Unknown. Justice is another important card for me because I am a Libra Sun, Libra Rising, and I have Libra in like a bunch of my other planets. I have Libra in like 6. Yeah, I have like 6 planets in Libra. That's the way to word that. So what I look for in a Justice card, I do like to see scales. And it doesn't have to be a sword, but I do like to see a weapon because I like the idea of Justice as a warrior. So most of these Justice cards do it for me. I like the symmetry and balance in this one, even though you don't get the traditional imagery with this one. I really like with this first edition of the Star Child, I like all of the cards in that deck that don't have people in them. Like all of them. I would love it if there were like hardly any people in that deck. I would probably pick it up a lot more often, whereas now I don't pick it up that often. I also love the Ma'at energy whenever you have the heart being weighed against a feather. So probably if I were to pick a favorite Justice card, and that sort of heart against the feather thing is kind of present here and here. Of course, you don't have the heart here. You don't really have the heart here either. But it's nice, you know, like growing up being a Libra, like most of the time if you're picking something out for yourself that symbolizes Libra, it's like the only card in the zodiac that isn't associated with either an animal, or the symbolism isn't associated with either an animal or a person. So it's almost always just like, okay, here's something with some scales on it. So the fact that the tarot usually also has a badass person on it, you know? I'm into that. I would probably Children of Letha is my very, very favorite. And my least favorite, I think I'm gonna say Sasarai Beto, only because the like blade right next to the eyeball, it's squeamy. I don't like to see it. It's not because this image is bad, it's just because I think of getting poked in the eye when I look at it, so I just look away. Every time I see this Justice card, I look away. So that's the only reason why it's my least favorite. Let's move on to Hanged One. Let's see, I'm interested to see how many of my cards don't have gendered wording. It seems like it's only, this one's called Vision Quest in the Vision Quest Tarot, which I find that very interesting, as I think that makes sense. I like that. This one's called Perspective, which I don't necessarily agree. I mean, yes, it's a different perspective, but I just think that's, I don't know, that's just not a weighty enough word for this card or something. So I guess the only one I have is that doesn't say man is Modern Witch, and then Hanged Muse here, which I think is totally appropriate for the Muse Tarot. So I like most of these. Love the mermaid being tied up energy here. I don't love this just because, like, I don't know, dude in his underwear, like, I just personally, I don't need it. I like the bat energy in this one and that one. I think if I were to pick out symbolism that has become important to me in a Hanged Man card, it's not like it needs to be there for me to like a Hanged Man card, but a bat really works for me. So I like the bat. Did I pick a favorite? I don't think I picked a favorite. I think it might be this one, Darkwood Tarot, because I always think of this one, but this one has the bad energy, but then it adds, you know, a bat-like vampire person, and so I'm into that for sure. Let's move on to death. I find it kind of interesting, the cards in Moon Power, which is this deck here, that end up being so traditional, because this chick is just so freaking strange, which I love that about her. But it's just interesting where, like, every once in a while there'll be a card in this deck that's just like, okay, well, that's pretty traditional. That's interesting. Do we have, how many alternate names for death do we have here? Santa Muerte. Transformation. Transformation here. And that's it. What do I look for in a death card? I just need to see a transformation, I guess, in a death card. I need to see time or something, a shift happening. I need to see a shift happening. So most of these, I like this sort of dance with death situation here in Moonchild. I like sort of the spirit leaving the body here in Sasarebito. Beyonce makes sense to me. She can bring on some serious change. These two cards are very similar to me. Yeah, most of these cards work for me. I would say the only one that doesn't is this Dark Angels card. And I like most of this imagery, except, I mean, you probably can't tell from this distance, but it's just a seriously male-gazy image of the woman with the wings. And that's distracting to me. It takes me out of, like, so I'd say that's my least favorite death card. And my most favorite is probably a Santa Muerte, because I love the idea of her being a skeleton that has a scythe. So she is the agent of death, but she also carries life within her, and she's preparing for the birth of this new life. And I just love, like, all the things that brings to mind, you know? Oh my god, you guys. I just, like, tried to do the math of, like, extrapolating, like, okay, if it takes me, how long has it taken me to do almost 15 cards so far? I mean, you guys can see how long the video is, but I fear it's going to be 3 hours long. Okay, Temperance. Temperance is an important one to me. It's, I do have Sagittarius in a few places in my chart, plus I just love the sort of, like, alchemy. It feels like a secondary Libra card almost, because of, like, the balance elements and everything. But I wouldn't say I'm super picky. I do want to love a Temperance card, but I feel like most decks pay the attention that is needed for a Temperance card, that I don't think I've usually been disappointed by a Temperance card. Usually. I don't love this one. I'd say this is my least favorite one, just because, I don't know. I just don't like it. I guess there's no real reason. Integration. I like the idea of calling Temperance integration. Most of these Temperance cards I am in love with. Most of them. Yeah. This one's great. Oh my god. Just I would say, like, as far as, like, the color scheme of a deck, Modern Witch is probably my favorite. I just love all the, like, really warm, rich olive tones and yellows, and there's probably not as much purple in the deck as I would prefer, but it's still there. Purple's my favorite color. Yeah, I just kind of want to soak in this Temperance card, man. But we don't get time for that. But I love most of these. Okay, how many alternate names do we have for the Devil card? Oppression here. Torment here. And that's it. Everybody else is the Devil, with the obvious exception that this one doesn't have any words on it. I don't love calling Courtney Love the Devil. However, it does kind of work in the sense that, like, the devil is not actually evil. The devil is, like, you being confronted with yourself. with like sort of your worst tendencies. And I think a person is confronting their worst tendencies if they paint Courtney Love as a devil. It's just my own personal opinion. I am definitely a defender of Courtney Love. I'm sure she's a very difficult person to be around because she probably has some mental health challenges, I would say. But I do not like calling her the devil. I would say my favorite is probably this one. I love a devil card that has cheekiness to it as well, because I feel like you're really not supposed to take the devil too seriously. So this works for me. The Tower is another card that I feel like doesn't get deviated from that often, but I appreciate when it does. Like, how perfect is this? Perusa Balk as Tower. I like the Maleficent energy going on with this one. And I like the idea of, like, you know, this being all in the mind with this one. And this is a great Tower card. I keep on wanting to say devil. This is a great Tower card. There's so much going on here. It's probably hard to see, but if you look at a walkthrough of Santa Muerte, you can see that, like, this whole NC Escher, like, there's so much going on. There's a bunch of different characters of the tarot that are within the image. You can look at it from all these different angles. That's a great Tower card. So if I were to pick a favorite, it probably would be Santa Muerte. Least favorite is easy. It's this one. I do not like it. Okay, let's not say more because this video is already going to be long enough. I think you really need to get a sense of healing. You really need to have a kind of moment when you see the Star card. I don't know, maybe that's just like too high expectations. But I feel like you just really need to feel those healing waters rush over you. You know, like seeing the Star card should feel like taking a restorative bath, you know? I am definitely putting too many expectations on the Star card. But the ones that don't achieve that for me, this one for sure. I do not like the Star card. I've said that before. Yeah, and I mean, some of them aren't as good as others, but I'd say this is the only one that's glaringly not good enough for me, just personally. But my favorite Star card, oh God. It's hard to decide. Love the one from Modern Witch, love the one from Darkwood. I also love the idea that this one's at night because personally, my star moments in life are at night because I'm a night owl. So yeah, probably would be between those two. I love this one too in Santa Muerte. That's gorgeous. Most of these Star cards are effective for me. Save for that Wild Unknown one. I don't like a moon card that is going to feel like it has a negative connotation. Like, I don't see the moon that way. Sorry, I know that it's probably kind of annoying to see how messy these piles are, but it's just very hard to avoid it and still do this in some kind of timely fashion, okay? Okay. So I like a moon card that has a little bit of an element of, you know, confronting dark aspects within yourself. This one's really, really good for that, Santa Muerte. But I also like a little bit of reveling in the moonlight. So, I mean, this one really works for me. And Darkwood, for sure. Reveling in the moonlight, because that's just my own personal feeling about nighttime and the moon. And so, yeah, if I were to pick a favorite, it would probably be between, like, Santa Muerte and Darkwood. And this Shadowscapes moon card is everything as well. And this one's got a lot going on with it as well, just like counting all these little creatures that aren't being completely illuminated by the moon. There's a lot to work with that one as well. In fact, I I don't think any of these moon cards piss me off, really. Even though I started off by saying, I don't like a moon card that's negative. I don't think any of these moon cards are negative. I think they're all gorgeous, and I like all of them, actually. Let's move on to the sun. You guys, my little ottoman full of cards is looking insane already. It's like a third of the way. No, it's like a fifth of the way full, maybe. It's going to be like full. That's going to be kind of satisfying to see that at the end. And I will show it to you guys. Okay. Sun cards. For a sun card, I do not want to see naked babies. So, but I'm okay if, you know, you don't see naked baby penis. You know what I'm saying? So I think it possibly would be a deal breaker to me if I saw a naked baby penis in a card. I probably wouldn't be able to keep it. Keep the deck. So really, nobody has renamed the sun. These are all good cards. I love this one. And this one's my ultimate, Children of Letha. The fact that it's Bast, the sun goddess. You know, like, she's an important goddess to me, so, like, I very much gravitate towards that one. I like sort of this gothic, sad sun in Moon Power Tarot. This one looks a little too religious to me. I've never really liked... I don't mind this center aspect, but the birds, for some reason, look like... I don't know, they look like religious judgment birds. Speaking of judgment... So, when it comes to a judgment card, I do not, although it's not super distracting to me since most judgment cards do this, I do not like a religious judgment card. So the ones that I gravitate to with judgment cards are cards that go outside of that norm. Like, in particular, I really like the Saceribito judgment card, just sort of the idea of, like, cocooning while you're going through a huge transformation, and, like, you'll come out when you're ready. I like that idea. I love this one. I don't mind when Judgment is renamed to Awakening. I think that probably makes more sense than just... Because Judgment, just in and of itself, as a word to depict this card's meaning, is very religious. So this one... This one's one of my very favorites. I just love that sort of, like, the energy coming from her heart space. I totally understand Kurt Cobain as a judgment card. I really like this one with Thoth and sort of the feathers. Brings that, like, Ma'at energy back into it. I probably just, like, conceptually, my favorite is this Darkwood one, because she's being bitten by a vampire and she's consenting to it. To me, this looks like she's consenting to it. So she's choosing this other life as a vampire. She's literally transforming into a different type of creature. So I'd say that one's probably my favorite. Let's move on to the World card. I'm kind of picky about the World card. Like, I want it to be exuberant. Kind of like, my expectations for the World card are kind of too high. Like, I want to feel like I'm dancing, like there's movement. I want to feel just the culmination of all the energies of the tarot. Like, that's probably too much to ask, but I just want there to be a lot going on, and I want it to be joyful. And several of these don't do it for me. Like, this one doesn't really do it for me. Holding up the world isn't enough, which is happening here too. I don't mind, I mean, I don't love the sort of traditional RWS world. Like, I'm fine with, like, the whole, like, dancing with the wands inside of a wreath with symbols around it, but I kind of like this aspect of it better. Or if it was just, like, I like how this is kind of like a medicine wheel. Like, it's literally called Big Medicine Wheel. I don't mind when it's renamed to be the Universe. Trying to think, like, just, like, trying to pick out, like, what do I like and not like. I love this one. Even though this one's simpler, it has all 4 elements here with the bat and the dagger and the teeth and the skull and the wands. You know, you got all the elements there. The skull is cups in this deck. So yeah, I want to see those different elements. I do really like this world card because not only is she dancing and she has the wands and she's within this frame of trees, but she's also got a fox and a cat and a spider and a lizard. And those are her 4 symbols. So like, I love this one because it's a deer chick in the forest with light everywhere. I guess the unsuccessful world cards for me are just when you got like a model holding a world. And that's these 3. This one's a little better because she's at least dancing and she has an Ankh necklace and it's a gorgeous landscape. But yeah. Okay. I guess I'm just too picky with world cards. You guys. I'm feeling insane for doing this. We're just now getting to the minor arcana. And we're 50 minutes into this video. That's insane. Okay, Ace of Wands, also Ace of Fire, also Ace of Inspiration. I like this one because she's got a little heart on her wrist in the same spot that I do. Not too picky about an Ace of Wands. I am one of those people that I really don't like to see a full figure in the ace cards. I honestly just, with aces, I really just want to see this traditional hand coming out of a cloud with the wand. Like, you can get more detailed with the background and things like that, but I don't like to see much more than that. So the ones here that really don't work for me are the ones with human figures in them, which there's only a couple. Love these. Love these. I like this one, even though there's no hand, but you know, there's no human figures in this deck, so it makes sense that there's no hand. I do like the budding. I like that Kim Krantz chose to do like the little buds on most of her wands cards. Yeah, so most of these work for me. Okay, 2 of Wands. I like this sort of like, she's got one wand behind her back and she's summoning up the next one. I like this one. I like this. I like how simple this is. Just like a whole rainbow, but it's like a narrowing down. And you've got that here as well. Like the witch energy. Witch energy in a 2 of Wands makes sense to me. So this deck here is just very pip-like. Like, you're really not going to see a lot of variation here. This one, these are forsythia branches. So I really like that because it's the idea of foresight. It's the idea of looking into the future, being able to see where your goals are going to take you. So this is really effective for me, just knowing that it's forsythia. Because forsythia is like, those are like the first buds that come out in spring. So you know that like life is going to return. I like this idea of like she was conjuring the wands in the 2 and now she's sending them up. Yeah, but when I think of the 3 of Wands, I always think of this card. The sort of like, this looks like Blair Witch, you know, like the sticks woven together, but you can see through to the next, like sort of, it's like a portal. I think of the 3 of Wands as a portal card, and the reason why I think of it that way is because of Wild Unknown. Also really love this one, just like the sort of purple sage desert lavender situation going on there. And the idea that like this is like a tripping 3 of Wands, you know, she's going to be taken to another world. She's like taking drugs and going to another world. Her portal is through drugs almost. In a 4 of Wands, I just want to see like some partying, you know, some carefree elements. I don't really get this one. And even reading the guidebook, I still feel like I'm not putting it together. How is a troll in a bridge a Four of Wands? I don't know. So if you guys get it, let me know. I like the 4 little sage bundles here. Love that. Yeah, I would say I'm not too picky about 4 of Wands. I'm pretty happy with most of these cards, I'd say. So I want to see like petty conflict in a 5 of Wands. You know, I want to see like some RuPaul Untucked yelling at each other, bitch, I'm from Chicago action in a 5 of Wands. And I don't know. I feel like I do get it with this. This sort of like two-faced scenario. This one feels very of the moment with the masks. Which one's my favorite? I really like these little baby goblin-y dragon guys fighting around this mushroom, because you know that their problems are so small if that mushroom's so big, you know? That's probably one of my favorites, and I do really love this one. You guys still see anything? I feel like things are creeping off the edge as this video goes on. 6 of Wands, you just want to see that, like, sort of, I like to see a little bit of somberness in a 6 of Wands, because I like the idea that, like, this is a victory and something you've worked very hard for, but it's not everything you thought it would be. Like, it's not, I don't like to see it as a sad card necessarily, but, like, when you get everything that you want, you start to realize how different it feels than you thought it would. So a lot of these cards have that. Like, there's a somberness here, and here, and here, and here, in a lot of them. I really love this. That's probably my favorite right here. Seven of Wands. So for me, 7 of Wands is a Slayer card. I think of it as somebody that is a warrior standing up for themselves and other people. So, love this. This is one of the reasons why I think of it as a Slayer card, because I think of this as Faith. She's just standing out on her own. She's not the same color as all the other sticks. Nobody really understands her. But yeah, so this is probably my favorite. I really like this, the idea that it's like you against the forest and you're on your own. But yeah, most of these I think are effective. I'm really liking, like, it's only recently that I started getting decks that had kind of this witchy vibe in 8 of Wands, such as Darkwood and Star Child here. And I think before, when it was just like this kind of imagery where you just see 8 wands in the air, I wasn't really getting that sort of like self-directed aspect of the 8 of Wands. I guess I should have gotten it through this, because she's sending up the dandelions, I don't know, whatever you call those. Blowflowers? I don't know. But just sometimes the 8 of Wands can feel like something happening to you swiftly. But I feel like it makes much more sense that these are self-directed. You know, like this bow and arrow here. You've sent these wands through the air and something's going to stick. You did it. So I like the idea of like this coven, and they're sending the wands up in the air. And she has like summoned the wands up into the air. You know, I like that aspect. So I'd say the most effective ones are those for me. But I like the addition in Modern Witch of just like the person on the motorcycle going forward down this desert road, like brings more to the image. Because I'd say this is probably the simplest image in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, don't you think? Let's move on to the 9. Okay. What do I look for in a 9 of Wands? It's possibly like it's a skewed sort of thought of the 9 of Wands, but since I kind of like most of what I initially learned of tarot is through the wild unknown, I always think of it like this, being kind of like at the end of your journey and you still have several steps to go, but you're almost there. So a lot of this sort of like vigilant guarding energy that you get in a lot of 9 of Wands cards doesn't really do it for me. Although I'm starting to get a little better at seeing that the way that I need to see it. But it's just, this one's not effective to me because she just looks defeated, and I don't think of the 9 of Wands as a defeated card. So yeah, the 9 of Wands kind of, because this is kind of a different interpretation and this is where my brain goes, the 9 of Wands a lot of the time doesn't really work for me, but I make it work because I just always think of this card. This is the iconic 9 of Wands to me. I really like for the 10s in the minor arcana to have a sense of completion to them. I don't really like when the 10s, and it's really just the 10 of Wands and the 10 of Swords that have like a negative connotation to them most of the time. I don't really like seeing them that way, so I always appreciate a 10 of Wands and a 10 of Swords being like a more positive aspect. So, but I do still think of the 10 of Wands as like overstimulus, kind of. So I don't mind like it looking like a difficult thing. I just don't like it to look like it's not hopeful, if that makes sense. Like with this chick, she has a huge burden on her back, but she's got it. Like you don't feel like she's gonna drop it. You feel like she's got it. She doesn't look completely overburdened, although she is wearing a mask, so she might be hiding some of that overburdened. But I'm okay with that, you know, like I like a little bit of layers in my 10 cards, you know. I don't like it to look completely hopeless, which is one of the reasons why I appreciate Santa Muerte, because all of the 10s in Santa Muerte are the same. They're like a moth of transformation with a body part associated with the suit. So here you've got hip bones for Wands, passion, sacral chakra. That's right? Sacral is the crotch one? I don't know, crotch chakra. That's what I usually call it. I don't know a lot about chakras. So, yeah, and I like this one. You know, I want a little bit of a sense of like a lot's going on, but I got this. And a lot of these cards don't really do that to me. Like I do not think of 10 of Wands as being oppression. Most of the keywords in this Vision Quest Tarot I do agree with, but not in this case. And this one's just so dark, man. So dark. Like you don't get hopefulness here. I mean, you've got this little source of light, so if you can just push those out of the way, you'll get there. So it works, but yeah. Let's move on to the Page of Wands. I think of Page of Wands as another Slayer card, and it's important to me. I think of it as, if I'm putting myself in the court cards, I think of myself as the younger version of myself as the Page of Wands. And I like most of these. For a while I thought I was going to get this tattooed. I don't think I'm going to go that literal. I do want a snake tattoo, and it might be loosely based on this card, but I don't want to go completely literal. But I thought I was going to for a while because I really like the negative space wand and the snake. Love this page because this looks like Sanea, the first Slayer, to me. I know I've said that in videos before. I am a Buffy nerd and I have a Buffy podcast. It's called What's This Bitch Talking About, if you guys are interested. And I'm about to start season 5. Talking about season 5. So most of these Page of Wands I do like. This one doesn't really feel, no offense to Bakara Wintner, who modeled for that picture for this card, but this one doesn't feel quite badass enough. Just the expression on her face looks kind of bored to me. and I do not want to see boredom in a Page of Wands. But probably this one's my favorite because it is so Slayer. But it's like neck and neck with this one, Daughter of Wands. I love it so much. Okay. I've been thinking about it like as I'm turning the cards when I have it paused. Like, what do I actually look for in this particular card? I think what I look for in a Knight of Wands is, this is one of the only cards that I would want to see. I'd want to see someone that I am attracted to in the Knight of Wands. You know, I think of that, like, I think of the Knight of Wands as being like super charismatic, sometimes to a fault. And do I feel attracted to any of these Knight of Wands? No. No, I do not. But, so I wonder why I was even thinking that I would like to be attracted to the Knight of Wands. I guess if I just make my own deck, that is an element that I will want to add into it. Like I said before, I'm gray sexual, which basically just means I have barely any libido at all. So like me being attracted to someone in my tarot deck is not a thing that I typically experience. But I think I would like to with the Knight of Wands. I could see maybe being into this guy. He does look like one of my exes. And she's pretty fierce. Yeah, I'd go on a date with her too. Yeah. She's cool. She's probably a little too fragile for me. Oh god, okay. This was stupid, but I'm getting a little slap happy already, guys. Okay. Let's move on to the Queen of Wands. Okay. The Queen of Wands is someone that, like, I don't necessarily think to myself, like, I want to be attracted to this person, but I am attracted to a lot of Queen of Wands. And I think I'm more of a Queen of Swords, but I would like to embody more Queen of Wands, because I feel like Queen of Wands is someone that does not give a shit what someone else thinks. It's someone that is very protective, that you do not fuck with a Queen of Wands, you know? So a lot of these really work for me. I like her. I need to have a black cat. Doesn't actually have to be a black cat. Like this one's got like a cheetah or something, and I'm cool with that. But there needs to be, you know, there needs to be. I mean, I guess not needs to be, but I do prefer to see it. So we got a black cat. Here, 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 and there. We've got a black wolf here, so that's close. We've got a different kind of cat here, so that's close. But the ones that don't even have an animal in them at all, it bugs me. I don't know. As far as the queens, I think all the queens should have animal companions. I think all the people in all the decks should have all of the animal companions, but that's just me though. Which one's my favorite Queen of Wands? I am going to take a second for that because Queen of Wands is one of the important ones for me. Love her, love her, love her. Like her, like her, like her. Like her, love her. Pele as a Queen of Wands is great choice. Probably this one's my favorite because she is a badass warrior and she's got a big black cat. Let's move on to the King of Wands. Okay, it's going to be a little weird whenever we get to muses because the muses in this deck are in place of the kings and they're all landscape. So it's just going to look like that whenever we get to the muses of that particular deck. I don't often like King of Wands cards. I think Missy Elliott makes sense. And I do really like, speaking of like hot boys, I do find him to be attractive. But yeah, I would like to be into a King of Wands, but most of the time I'm not. Like, I don't really feel a lot of anything when I look at most of these cards. Okay, let's move on to the cup suit. again, with the aces, I'm going to say this with every ace, I just like a hand coming out of a cloud. I really like the aces in Moon Power because they're all pretty traditional, but you get like an alien hand coming out of a black cloud with a starry background. You know, I'm just very drawn to this. I love the aces in Modern Witch too. And I also really love the aces in Darkwood Tarot. I like this one. Like, pretty much most of these work for me. I do not like the aces in Wild Unknown. Despite the fact that it's like one of my core top 5 decks, I don't think I like a single ace. Yeah, I don't like the sword. The Pentacle, the Ace of Pentacles. We'll get there. It's not bad. But most of the aces, oh, and I like the Ace of Wands, I guess. But I do not like the Ace of Cups, and I do not like the Ace of Swords in Wild Unknown. I do like the aces in Santa Muerte because they all have eyes that are the shape of the playing card correspondent to that particular suit. So this one has hearts for eyes because hearts equals cups. Yeah, most of these work for me. Love all the aces in Halloween Tarot too. Let's move on to the Two of Cups. Okay, I am picky about the Two of Cups, particularly if like I can see a heteronormative Two of Cups card and be okay with it if the Lover's card is of the same sex or androgynous, or like, so I really prefer a Two of Cups where you can insert yourself into them, or a same-sex Two of Cups. And that's also how I feel about Lovers, to be honest. Like, I really don't want to see heteronormativity really ever in a deck, if I'm honest, because we see enough of that. Like, it doesn't necessarily piss me off to see some heteronormativity, but like, especially if that's all you get in a deck, I don't like it. So I like this because you see 2 men. I like this because it's 2 horses. I like this because it's 2 women. I like this because it's like a self-love card. Same with this one. I like this because it's 2 seahorses. This because, hey, hands are androgynous. Just like butts. Hands are gender neutral. I like this because it's just 2 cups. This because it's just 2 hands. This because it's 2 women. This because you can put whatever you want onto those figures. This one's got a sun on its head. This one's got a moon. 2 ghosts, gender neutral. 2 women. This is another self-love because it's the same person. Another skeletons, cups. So most of these Two of Cups are not heteronormative. That's kind of nice. How many are heteronormative? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. Only 4 of these. So that's nice. Okay. 3 of Cups time. 3 of Cups is another important card to me. Like, I want to see goddesses on earth energy when I see a 3 of Cups. Totally good with mermaids. Like, most of these work for me. This one doesn't really work. Like, it's okay. This Dark Angels deck is very non-serious. It's very much like nobody's favorite deck, most likely. But I have a soft spot for it because it's a very specific flavor of goth, and it's kind of the goth that I grew up with in the late 90s, early 2000s. Love the mermaid energy. Love her sort of like self-satisfaction of just like, yeah, I don't need no other bitches for my 3 of Cups. I am all 3 goddesses within myself, bitch, and I got a cat on my lap. So that's cool too. Love this. Oh my god. That is gorgeous. I wish that these 2 people looked a little more dissimilar. Just so you'd have like more of a range of different people. Because these 2 people look like sisters to me. Which is fine, but most of these work for me. Yeah. The only one that really doesn't work for me is this one, and it's because there's a guy in the card, which I know it shouldn't throw me. Like you can't have like sort of that goddess soul energy with a guy. in your friend group, but to me this guy looks like he's commanding the attention of the two women, and that doesn't work for me as a Three of Cups. Love the three cats here. This has a lot of fire energy for a Three of Cups, but I'm still okay with it. Yeah, most of these work for me. Let's move on to the Four. Okay, what I want out of a Four of Cups is definitely asking too much, but I like to see an aspect of ambiguity in the Four of Cups. I like to see sort of an element of, not only are you being handed a cup from divinity that might be the cup that you should take, like maybe you should turn away from these three and only pay attention to this one, but maybe you have enough and you don't need another one. I like a little bit of ambiguity there. I don't like when a Four of Cups like tells you which it is, because basically it's emotional stability. So either you have these three and this is the one that you need to trade all three of these for, or that one's just one too many. I like you to be able to interpret it whichever way you want. And this person looks like she's turning away from all of them. She's not letting anything in. So I don't really understand how the rat comes into any of it, but I love a rat, so. This one's interesting, how he's just sort of like, if he weren't hunching over into himself, his resources wouldn't be pouring out of his head, you know? That's an interesting concept to me. So I don't know which one I like. I really like this one. But yeah, I'm not totally sure. I don't feel really strongly that I love any of these, but I don't hate any of them either. Let's move on to the Five of Cups. There has to be hope in a Five of Cups. I have to be able to see, even if there's a human character in the Five of Cups that's ignoring the hope, there has to be hope. You know, I like that there are the two cups upright, that all you have to do is turn around and you'll see them. There has to be some hope. I like, this one's probably a little too hopeful. Like, this one doesn't really look sad to me, but I still love the imagery so much. This one's really effective to me. Like you're stuck in the labyrinth of your mind. This looks really hopeless to me, even though there are the two upright cups. Just knowing the legend behind this particular card is very difficult. So I don't know, like trying to pick a favorite. It's probably the Santa Muerte. And I like that there's kind of a reversal sort of built in to this Marigold tarot card, because the cups are upside down. The skulls / cups are upside down. And so if you do reversals and you pull it like this, hey, the right side up, they look happy now. Like, I like when a reversal is kind of built in, even though I don't use reversals. I still appreciate it for some reason. Six of Cups. I really do want to get a sense of nostalgia. I don't need to see two children to feel that. I think this portrays nostalgia very well. This does too. But probably my favorite is this one. I like the idea that, you know, I don't know. This one just makes me happy. This one does make me feel nostalgic. But I also really like the dolphins. Dolphins work for me too, because like my mom was obsessed with dolphin imagery, particularly whenever I was a child. So this like speaks to me personally. Let's move on to the Seven of Cups. Either I'm not that picky about the Seven of Cups, or most Seven of Cups just kind of naturally gravitate towards, I mean, it seems to be very similar imagery in most Seven of Cups, and I'm cool with that. I like a sense of daydreaming and options I like sort of the fantastical quality of Seven of Cups, so most of these work for me. Except this one. This one really doesn't. This one really doesn't work for me. Because she looks weighed down by those cups. And I don't see the Seven of Cups that way. I see it as I mean, you're kind of overwhelmed by your choices, but you have so many choices ahead of you. And I like that. Love this one. It's just such a gorgeous image. And this works for me. Pretty much most of these work for me. In an Eight of Cups, I really want to get sort of that Saturn return energy, that sort of really emotional, it's time to move on, even if what you're moving on from isn't entirely bad. This one doesn't work for me because all the cups are broken. I would like to see at least a few of the cups intact, because I think you're not walking away from something terrible in the Eight of Cups. You're walking away from something that is also a scenario that worked for you at one time, and some aspects of it still do. So, yeah. Like, there are pros and cons of cutting off your super long hair. This one's so wonderful to me. So I like an eclipse. I like the fact that this card actually has Saturn imagery in the background of kind of like the waves. Man, which one is my favorite though? I'm pretty into like the traditional imagery, and as anytime I'm pretty into the traditional imagery, that usually means my favorite is a Modern Witch, because I think Lisa Sterl's her RWS inspired deck is, most of her images are better to me than the original. Most of them. So yeah. Most of these do work for me. This one's gorgeous, although this one's just a little too sad for me for an Eight of Cups. It's still such a beautiful image. Let's move on to the Nine. In a Nine of Cups, I really want to see some self-satisfaction. You know, I really want to see that sense of luxury, that you have gotten everything you want. You know, I don't really want to see someone skinny. I want to see someone that is a little gorged on their happiness and the fact that they've gotten everything that they want. That said, even though this bitch is skinny, I love her face. This is probably the best smug expression out of any of these Nine of Cups. So that's like the expression that I'm looking for. But this one might be my favorite, actually. Just that sort of like, she's got it all within her. She's got everything. She doesn't need anything outside of herself. I love that. I also really like this. I'm not even like an octopus person. Like usually I'm like, yeah, whatever, octopus. But that one really works for me. Most of these pretty much work for me. Like, none of them are really standing out as being like, nope, don't like this one. Let's move on to the 10. You guys, I know the 10 of Cups is like an exuberant, happy, wonderful, oneness with the universe kind of card. But it has become a little bit triggering to me in 2020 because I pulled this card a lot at the beginning of the pandemic. And it's really taught me to see the sort of, we are all in this together, kind of see the dark side of that. And then there's good and bad to the interconnectedness of the 10 of Cups, you know? So it's kind of become a little bit of a triggering card for me. I don't necessarily see it as a bad thing, because it's a good thing. But, I don't know. I would say there's a lot of 10 of Cups cards that I really, really like. Again, I don't like to see heteronormativity. I like ambiguity whenever possible, when there's relationships in a card. I like you to be able to see yourself in the cards. This one really, I think, is just a gorgeous, gorgeous image. Because this brings sort of the interconnectedness with the universe aspect to the 10 of Cups, which I really like. I don't think it's just a family being happy. I think it's much more than that. I like the campfire thing. because that's more like chosen family. Whoever you choose to sit around a campfire with is your family. I like that. Really, I like probably all of these 10 of Cups except this one. Why is it just like a dude carrying a chick and a bunch of cups? Like, nope. Don't really love this either because it's another heteronormative thing happening there. Don't like this one either just because it confuses me, because I realize now, it took me a while, but I realize now that these are 3 separate people, but since they have the exact same hair, exact same coloring, I was like, why is this like 3 different pictures of the same woman on this 10 of Cups? Meh. So as far as ones that don't work, really this one, and that one for me. But anything that has like, I think if I were making my own deck, I would do something a little bit more like this, like something that has, I would put more color into it, but something that was like an animal family. I think that's what I would do personally. Let's move on to the Page of Cups. I think of the Page of Cups kind of like it's another good card to have Fiona Apple. Like, as far as the Page of Cups, I think of like Fiona Apple's music for sure. Sort of that like so many, you know, like her song Every Single Night, like so many emotions just spilling out of you. You can't control it. So I like the rainbow reflection here in the Wild Unknown Daughter of Cups. I like the fact that she's got holes in her spoon. You know, she's overflowing. I like a sense of overflowingness in a Page of Cups. I think Angela Chase makes total sense as a Page of Cups. I like that she's, you know, she's kind of like a court jester. And she's got all this flow coming out, snaking around. Love a mermaid in any of the Cups court cards. I'm cool with the mermaid in any of those positions. But man, which one? I love all the pages in the Tarot of the Cat people too. I think they just did a really good job with the pages in that deck. Which one's my favorite though? It might, oddly enough, it might be this one. But I like a lot of them. And this one's just, that's just gorgeous. You can't deny that. But this one is easier to read because it's not so detailed. Let's move on to the Knight of Cups. With the Knight of Cups, you kind of, yes, I did press record, okay. You kind of want, you want to be romanced, you know? You want to see sort of, you want to see overflowing of emotion again, like you do in the page. I think probably my favorite is this one. Even though he's a skull, he's still crying. I'm cool with unicorn energy in a Knight of Cups. I like that a lot of decks choose to have a woman depicted as a Knight of Cups. I mean, I'm cool with knights being women pretty much all the time, but yeah. I don't think any of these, like, I think the only one I possibly don't really like is this one, just because that guy does not look trustworthy to me. And yeah, sometimes the Knight of Cups, I don't think the Knight of Cups is untrustworthy. I think the Knight of Cups is trustworthy. I think they're a little impractical, but definitely trustworthy. So I don't want, I mean, some people might not think that about that guy, but I do. He looks like a 7 of Swords kind of dude. Queen of Cups. The Queen of Cups to me is, she's a fortune teller. She's Drusilla from Buffy. She's important. And I don't think she's skinny. Again, obviously anybody can be a Queen of Cups. But these are all just my own very personal, not at all objective opinions. Obviously. So I like a lot of these Queens of Cups. I think I love this one so much. It's just so rare that we see older people depicted in tarot just in general that I just like latch onto it every time I see it, you know. Really love this one. Because this one reminds me, since the Queen of Cups is a Cancer card, this one actually reminds me of a Cancer that I know. Kind of looks like her. Love this. Love mermaid energy again in any Cups card. Man, which one's my favorite though? I feel like I'm not head over heels in love with any of these. I really like this one though. So I like a lot of these, but I don't think I'm in love with any of these, which is kind of sad. Hopefully there'll be a Queen of Cups card in my future that I will fall completely in love with. Let's move on to the King of Cups. I mean, Robert Smith as the King of Cups. My favorite card in that deck. I think Robert Smith is the King of Cups, but that is my own personal bias because The Cure is one of my very favorite bands. Probably is my favorite band. But I do, probably because of me associating Robert Smith with King of Cups, I want to see a really goth King of Cups, always. So this one really works for me. And I really love him though. Oh my god, I love this guy. But yeah, I'd say my favorite is Robert Smith, even though that's not necessarily the most beautiful image, but just the whole concept of Robert Smith being King of Cups completely works for me. But I really do like the original RWS. He's possibly one of my very favorite court cards. Definitely my favorite king in that deck. Let's move on to the swords. Okay. Had to just let my dogs out, so they might start barking, but they won't be super, super close. So hopefully it won't be too annoying. I don't love a lot of Ace of Swords cards, and I think the thing that I don't like about the ones that I don't like is the crown. For whatever reason, it just bugs me to see the crown. So if I were to pick a favorite, it would probably be Modern Witch because there's no crown. And I also really like this Ace of Bats. It's just so cute. But yeah, I don't really need a crown. And this one kind of confuses me. Like, why is there like this curtain of hair? Maybe because you're seeing, you know, the swords are about your mind. So you're seeing through the curtain of your hair. Maybe, I don't know. Let's move on to the Two of Swords. Okay, I'm biased about the Two of Swords. Y'all know. Y'all probably know. Here's my little subtle, hey, if you guys want a reading from me, if you made it this far. So I do have a lot of requirements for the Two of Swords. I like a traditional... Okay, sorry about that. I had to start over because that video was like, my phone was like, nope, you have exceeded your limit, girl. So with the Two of Swords, I want pretty much everything that's in RWS. I judge everything against that because for me, it's about shutting out the outside world to find out what your true intuition tells you. So I like to see crossed swords. I like to see blindfold. I like to see openness in the bottom half. So the crossed legs don't really work for me. Basically, I just really like the traditional Two of Swords. So this one works for me. This one mostly works for me. This one does work too, because then you put yourself in the position of holding onto the swords. Ones that don't really work, I mean, I guess I thought I was picky, but most of these do work for me. This one kind of doesn't, and this one kind of doesn't, but most of them do. Yeah, let's move on to the Three of Swords. With the Three of Swords, I'm not sure exactly what I would like to see. I think I'm just kind of tired of seeing three swords piercing a heart, which is what you get with 90% of these cards. I like that this one's a slightly different interpretation. I like this one's just just three bent feathers. I mean, I don't mind the imagery of three swords piercing a heart. I mean, it's classic for a reason, but I like more. I think this one is kind of winning for me as my favorite at the moment, because I feel like knowing the legend behind this, you can see it. I mean, it's definitely not a good feeling, but you can see it in a few different ways. There's a little bit more room for interpretation with this card. But I really don't think this is, I mean, obviously this one's very, very Pip-like, so you really can see it however you want. But this one is probably the only one that kind of doesn't look like a dire situation. And this one's just like quite literally a breakup. Like when I see this, I always think of the Cure song called Apart, which is about two people that should have broken up a long time ago. Let's move on to the Four. I feel like things are out of frame, maybe. Sorry, guys. Move these up a little bit. I know my angle kind of changed because I had to re-record and fix it. Okay, that's better. So with the fours, I'm pretty picky about fours in general because I want to see stability. So with the Four of Swords, I want to see like, you know, kind of, I mean, emotional stability should be the Four of Cups, but I do kind of think of Four of Swords as emotional stability too, because the swords are all about like what's going on in your mind. So there needs to be stability of mind in a Four of Swords. So I do not like a Four of Swords that looks like that other shoe is about to drop. I feel like you've got more time than that. I want to see rest, you know? This one makes me so happy. I really love it. So beautiful. Ah, this one. It's just a gorgeous image. Love this. So most of these do work for me. I love this image, but as a Four of Swords, I don't love it. I kind of like the idea that, like, it's hard to tell from this distance, but she's kind of side-eyeing him. Like, she's about to stab him. If he tries to kiss her without her fucking consent, she will kill a bitch. So I kind of like that, and it's not really what I want out of a Four of Swords, but I can work with it. Which one's my favorite? I don't know. I like most of these, honestly. This one is one of my very, very favorites. This is probably my favorite card in this entire deck, but it doesn't totally work as a Four of Swords, but it kind of does. Gives you that sort of like taking a bath energy, which I'm okay with as a Four of Swords. This one does too. This one has bath energy too. This one feels a little bit more tumultuous than I would like it to be. I don't want to think of the Four of Swords as being nailed into a coffin and premature burial, but I can also see how that works. Let's move on to the Five. For the Five of Swords, I really do kind of think of like self-sabotage and self-mutilation. So this one definitely works for me. This one does. This one does. This one's such a gorgeous image. I'm not totally sure it works as a Five of Swords, but I just love that image so much. This one really, like, colored how I see the Five of Swords as a self-sabotage kind of, self-mutilation kind of card, but I don't actually like looking at it that much. This one I see internalized misogyny here with the woman abusing the other woman. So that one's kind of a current favorite because it expanded how I see that card's imagery, the card's symbolism. But this one's probably my all-time favorite, and this one's kind of like a new favorite, so we'll see. We'll see if that one ends up edging this one out. But okay. If y'all have seen my videos before, I have probably said this like a dozen times at this point. But my biggest like card awakening moment of like finding my own meaning for a card happened with the Six of Swords. I just realized one day, towards the beginning of my current tarot, the current leg of my tarot journey, which began like January of last year. The idea that, yes, you're going from a shitty situation to a better situation. And you might need some help. Or you're all three of these people. But it's people saving each other. And the swords are stuck in the boat. To me, the Six of Swords is about how you carry the experiences and the traumas that you've had to those calmer waters. Like you couldn't, if you took those swords out of the boat, if you took that trauma out of your experiences, the boat would sink. So you need that trauma to build upon. Not to say that anybody deserves trauma, but like if you pull this card, you've likely been through something, you know, something big and scary, and it made you who you are. And for me, it's a healing card because it helps me to accept what I've been through. So with the Six of Swords, that's kind of a super condensed version of how I view the Six of Swords because I have a lot of thoughts on the Six of Swords. I really want to see all of that shit that I just said. And that shit came from my interpretation of the RWS. So I kind of do want a more traditional, not necessarily, it doesn't have to be, like it has to give me that feeling though. Like this card gives me that feeling for sure. That sort of surfacing. Like she's surfacing after almost drowning, you know? So this one's a favorite. I love the traditional, like this one's great. This one's beautiful. It doesn't necessarily say everything I need it to say, but it is beautiful. Yeah. Six of Swords is like, I don't know. It's an important card for my journey, I guess. So let's move on to the Seven. Seven of Swords. So this one's still a difficult one for me. Like I used to define it, and I think this is too simplistic of a way to think about it, but I used to think of Five of Swords as lying to yourself and Seven of Swords as lying to someone else. I still am not entirely sure if I know what the Seven of Swords is, because like, is this guy stealing something from someone else or is he taking back what's rightfully his? I still kind of feel like I haven't completely had the epiphany moment with the Seven of Swords, and I'm almost 2 full years into like really knowing all the cards of the tarot. So it's just, I haven't had my epiphany moment with this particular card yet. So I don't necessarily know what I need from it, since I don't know how I feel about it yet. But I like the idea that there's some kind of deception. It's definitely, deception is involved in the symbolism of this card, even if I don't actually understand it. It's definitely there. So the fact that she's got some deception going on. I really love this card a lot. This one is one of those ones that has like, she looks so beautiful and calm and everything, and then this opposite version of her is sinister. So this is probably my favorite, but again, I don't actually know how I feel about the Seven of Swords in general. This one in particular reminds me of a specific moment that happened to me in my life where I was betrayed by someone. It was possibly the most hurtful betrayal of my life. So that's one of the reasons why I feel like I'm biased towards this card, because I know you're supposed to think of it as like someone lying and cheating and stealing and taking something from you, but it feels like that's not the entire story, and I haven't grasped it all yet. Yeah, anyway, let's move on to the 8. Wow, guys, the idea that you could get out of your current situation, but you just aren't taking the steps. It's such a heavy, heavy card, the 8 of Swords. Because it's not like something just happened to you, and you had no control over it. This is, you have built yourself into a prison, and you need to disentangle yourself and stop telling yourself that you're a victim. It's such a heavy card, right? Which one's my favorite? I like this one because she's got these little rat helpers down here. And maybe even this like vulture is helping her too. Looks like the same creature that's right here. This one's beautiful. Probably my favorite one is this because it feels more everyday, right? Like she is tied up by the clutter in her life, you know? That feels really real to me. Let's move on to the 9. This is another one that I associate with that same Fiona Apple song I mentioned earlier, Every Single Night, because she's talking about anxiety and not being able to sleep. This one is one that people do not deviate from very much. I mean, you almost always get someone crying with 9 swords over their heads in a bed. So I'm not sure. I really like this one because it shows 3 phases of anxiety to me. Because here at the top, the swords have missed this bird. Here, the swords have just hit that bird. Here, that bird's been carrying those swords for a long time. So I think this one, as far as the symbolism is concerned, is the most effective to me. A lot of these images are beautiful. Like this is beautiful, this is beautiful. This is kind of fun. That bedspread is cute. So yeah, I like these 2 images too because of the jawbone. So there's this jawbone here getting eaten, and it's like crappy nightmares happening there. But this one, all the swords are pointed towards the jawbone too. And in the guidebook for Marigold Tarot, it talks about not being able to communicate. And one of my biggest nightmares, also, if we're talking about nightmares, is losing my teeth. Because I've had a lot of dental work in my life. So it's a genuine fear of mine. So favorites would probably be these 2 here. I like something more than just head in the hands, 9 swords over the head. Although it's effective. It tells the story. I like that these swords are all piercing his head. I actually personally like a 10 of swords to feel slightly more hopeful than a 9 of swords. I feel like 9 of swords is really the darkest that it gets. Which is probably wrong, but I personally like to see, again, in the 10s, like I said before, I like to see some hope. I like to see some sense of completion. I don't necessarily want to see how dark the 10 of swords is typically depicted. I think it's a little too dark for me. So I like the ones where it kind of subverts the normal. Like here, she's kind of floating, and she sort of looks like she's in ecstasy of some kind. So I enjoy this particular 10 of swords. And I like this one because the swords aren't puncturing her. And I like this one because she looks like she's finding a way through it, you know? I like this one because she's not totally down yet. She looks like she's bleeding out, but I feel like she's gonna stand up, you know? Yeah. I guess I just kind of get fatigued by always seeing like a person that looks like they're fucking dead with 10 swords in them, you know? It's just a little too much for me. I like this one. Let's move on to the Page of Swords. Page of Swords is another one that, like, I feel like it's a younger version of myself is Page of Swords as well. I love this one so much. This is definitely, like, talking about court cards that I'm attracted to, this Page of Swords. I like this one too. I love the colors. And this is amazing. Most of these I actually really like a lot. Yeah. I don't even know which one would be. Probably this one would be my favorite, Children of Letha. Let's move on to the Knight of Swords. Knight of Swords. For Knight of Swords, I want to see quite a lot of movement. You know, I want to see wind in the hair. Like, if there were only one knight that actually had a horse, I would want it to be the Knight of Swords. I want that sense of, like, somebody's coming in to save you right now, or you're going to rush in to save someone else. So, this one's such a gorgeous image, though, even though it doesn't have the movement of the Knight of Swords that I would like to see. That is still such a gorgeous image. One of my favorite cards in this deck. This makes sense to me. This one's amazing. I love it. I don't know which one's my favorite. I'll tell you which one doesn't work for me. This one and that one. That guy doesn't look trustworthy. And there's just a lot of blood in Children of Letha. Like, I'm okay with it. Mostly. But there's a lot of, like, all the knights in Children of Letha are actively slaying dragons, except for the Knight of Cups. And it's just, like, a little too brutal for me, personally. Just because it's animal brutality. Let's move on to the Queen of Swords. Queen of Swords. I'm not sure I have specific requirements for the Queen of Swords. I would love for her to have an animal companion, a bird companion. I would love for her to be very badass. I would love for her to have a very direct gaze. Doesn't have to be directly at me. Like, her gaze is still direct. It's just not at me. So, love most of these, actually. None of these really stand out to me as being, like, not effective. I think all of these are good. Mostly. Yeah? Not quite enough animal companions in these cards. Yeah. Okay. King of Swords. My own personal King of Swords would be Buffy from Giles. Or Giles from Buffy. I'm not super in love with any of these. I do really like this one because there's a lot of movement and there's birds. This one looks like Link to me, and he's just too young to be a king. I really like this one, actually. This might be my favorite King of Swords. I like his bat cloak. I like his direct gaze. He looks trustworthy to me. Most of these are not effective to me. I'm not sure exactly what I'm looking for in a King of Swords, except Giles. None of these bitches are Giles. This one's probably my least favorite. Okay. Let us move on to the final suit, you guys. Oh my god, this video will not be the longest video on YouTube, but close. This one kind of confuses me simply because every other ace in Moon Power is pretty much an alien version copy of the RWS, and this one has an eyeball in it for some reason, so it just feels inconsistent. I prefer when the pentacles are called pentacles. Just a personal preference because I really like the word pentacle. But that said, Marigold Tarot calling it rings. The rings suit, oh, it's so beautiful in that deck. I do not enjoy crystals. Just because all the other suits are not renamed in the Star Child deck, but then you get to crystals and you're like, what? I don't know, it just kind of takes me out of it. Let's see. Which one's my least favorite? Probably is this one. Just because the image doesn't feel powerful enough to me to be an ace. Favorites are anytime you got a hand coming out of a cloud. I really love this one. I love this one too. And this one. And this one. Oh, so cute. Purple hand with the treats. My God, you guys, I'm getting a little crazy. I really want to get a sense with the Two of Pentacles of, you know, I got this. You know, you're able to really, and it's a tongue-in-cheek thing too. You know, like, I got this. I'm weighing the things. So I do like when it's kind of like this, I like this like Harley Quinn moment here. I'm not sure. This is one of my favorites, Moonchild. Not sure which one would be my favorite here. Definitely want that sort of like, you need help to accomplish this goal. You need more than just your perspective to accomplish this goal vibe for a Three of Pentacles. So like this cat is helping out right there. I love this one. I don't know why. Well, I know why. It's personal. It reminds me of me and my Michael. Yeah, I'm feeling kind of ambivalent about most of these. This one makes me happy. I think I like a more abstract Three of Pentacles because, I mean, this one's effective for sure, but when there's a lot of figures and it's kind of telling you how to feel about it, I feel like that's less effective than kind of these more abstract with the mountain and the Three Pentacles. I just kind of want to see Three Pentacles and Three Pentacles and call it good. Apparently. Let's move on to the Four. Four of Pentacles, again, stability. Fours are stability. So with the Pentacles, it's financial stability and stability within your home and your possessions. I don't like it when it's very specifically telling you hoarding and miserliness, you know? I don't like that sort of, I don't love the traditional imagery of just like, I am protecting all of my things and you may not have any of them. Because I don't think it's just that. You know, it can be a good thing and it can be a bad thing, like any of the cards. I love this one. Yeah, I don't know. I like most of these. I think I'm getting to the point where I just like don't have any feelings about any of these because it's just been doing this so long. So with the Five of Pentacles, I really want to see, I want to see hopefulness, you know, I want to see downtrodden but hopeful, you know. This one, I know this is not how I'm supposed to feel about this, but to me this looks like she's trying to get away from him. So that kind of distracts me. I think symbolism wise, this one maybe works the best for me, the Shadowscapes one, because all she would have to do is look up to see that beautiful butterfly right in front of her. She has so much to be happy about, but she's not happy. Yeah. I mean, most of these do work for the Five of Pentacles vibe. This one's probably one of my favorites. This one's just too goddamn sad, man. That cat is not okay. I don't like it. Let's move on to the 6. I do not like the traditional 6 of Pentacles, and I know I've said that before. This one's possibly my favorite. I like it when it looks like an equal exchange, that you are giving and receiving. Not that you are necessarily like trying to weigh how much you can give out to people that are below you. You know, I don't like that vibe. I don't like this vibe. I don't like this vibe. This one's fine, giving candy to kids and costumes. This one's one of my very, very favorites. I like it to look like a balance of giving and receiving. This doesn't look like a balance. That looks like a hierarchy. So this one's probably my very, very favorite, followed closely by this one. I kind of don't, I mean, I love a meditation card, but I think Moonchild leans a little too heavily on the meditation cards because there's just so many of them. Like, I see how it makes sense in the 7 of Pentacles, to be honest, because 7 chakras, you know, I love this card actually. But just in general, there's just so many meditation cards in the Moonchild. What do I want in a 7 of Pentacles? I love this one and this one. This one's probably my very, very favorite. I like the idea of like assessing what you have planted. I'm totally cool, even though I definitely have the opposite of a green thumb. I like when it's like someone assessing what they've grown, tending to their garden, kind of taking a step back and seeing what else needs to be done. I like that aspect. And most of these cards have that. She looks a little too dissatisfied with her plant. I've said that before. So these two would definitely be my favorites right here. Just this one's just so pretty. I just love how much hair she has and all the colors. I don't get Tarot of the Cat people out often enough, but it's one of my foundational tarot decks. So when I do my like tarot history, that's gonna be a big player in that one. 8 of Pentacles. I get kind of bored with the traditional 8 of Pentacles. I do like when somebody goes outside the box with the 8 of Pentacles and shows more than just someone working on some pentacles, although I understand it's very powerful imagery, so I understand why you would go there, but the ones that I find more enjoyable personally, like I like this one, sort of that going steadily down the path sense. I'm cool with the spider imagery in an 8 of Pentacles. I don't know. I mean, I still love this. I actually really love this card, even though I just was like, I don't like it when it's traditional. But this one in particular, because it's the artist of this particular deck, it always makes me happy. Because she put herself in a card about working really hard. And I like that. So I don't know. As far as just like really loving to look at it, this one's probably my favorite, but it doesn't necessarily say 8 of Pentacles, except that steady walking down the path thing. Okay, 9 of Pentacles is another one of those, like, I want to see a bird. I do. I'm a little sad if I don't see a bird and someone resplendent in their yard or something. You know, I want that. I want that. This one's like Brandon Lee from The Crow or something with his crow. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. This one doesn't have, I mean, this deck, Darkwood, has a lot of animal familiars throughout, but not in that particular card. So that's disappointing. This one's everything. Love it. This one might be my favorite. I do like that this figure is, I mean, she's not old. She's like maybe in her 40s. I do like that she's a little bit older. But yeah, this one might be my favorite. In the Ten of Pentacles, I want to see DNA. I want to see like familial ancestry. Like, I want to see some shit. This one does it for me. This one does. This one does, because it's a tree and it's got some families in and around the tree. Of course, I like this. More traditional imagery, but I feel like this one's probably my favorite. Let's move on to the Page of Pentacles. You guys, I'm blacking out over here. I feel like sometimes when people, if creators of tarot decks typically go in order, I feel like they get lazy once they get to the court cards of the Pentacles sometimes. Like, not a lot of these are really great. Love this one though. I want a student energy in a Pentacles card, you know? I want like embarking on the journey of what will eventually become your life goal. You know, I want that. So I feel like I get that here and here. But yeah, definitely get that there. I'm not sure I even have... I love a deer. I always love a deer. So maybe this Daughter of Pentacles would be my favorite. But I feel like my favorite Page of Pentacles card does not exist yet. Or I just don't have it in my collection yet. Let's move on to the Knight. This project is so time consuming, you guys. I seriously, like, my Michael went back to work after his lunch break at like 12:30 p.m. and that's when I came upstairs and started putting my decks in order. And it is now like 5:30 or 6. I don't have a clock in here, so I'm not sure exactly, but it's 5:30 or 6. I've been doing this project for straight up at least 5 hours, you guys. This is insane. No one's gonna watch this. Okay, Knight of Pentacles. I don't know how I feel about Knight of Pentacles. I want him to be slow moving. Kind of look like he's still. So this is a beautiful card, but it's probably a little bit too much movement for a Knight of Pentacles. The Knight of Pentacles moves slow. Most of these others are pretty effective though, for the most part. I don't really like how sad she looks. I don't know about Mary-Kate and Ashley as Knight of Pentacles, just personally. But you really run the risk of like people having some pretty serious opinions if you're making a pop culture deck and associating specific people with specific cards. You know, like, you're either gonna love it or hate it in that sense. So let's move on to the Queen of Pentacles. With the Queen of Pentacles, I want someone almost as intense as the Empress energy. You know, I want like Earth Mother for the Queen of Pentacles. I do not think Reese Witherspoon cuts it for me. This one's pretty much perfect. I love Poison Ivy as a Queen of Pentacles, but that's kind of a personal, like, I'm very much Poison Ivy, about Poison Ivy. Okay, guys. I'm gonna let you guys watch me do this for the last card, King of Pentacles. don't think I have something in my mind for what I want from the King of Pentacles. You know, I want to see a lot of abundance around him. I think he's pretty. But my favorite... I don't even know if I have a favorite. I'm not super in love with any of these. I think with the page, like with the Page of Pentacles, I just have not found the King of Pentacles for me. So I'm gonna flip these guys over just so you can see the card backs very quickly. I think dinner is ready. I am ready to eat it. Okay, and then like I promised, I am going to show you what the box of all of my cards looks like. Can you guys see that? Hold on, I'm in a very small room and I can't see what you see at the moment, but I'm gonna put my last cards in here and then look and see what you see. Collie's in here. Look at all that. Oh my god, you guys. Okay, let's reach in here and pull out our tarot reading. Okay, I got one. Eight of Cups. Let's leave this whole situation behind, you guys. Thank you so much for watching this. If you made it all the way through, holy shit. Give me an alien emoji in the comments if you made it this far. I love you guys. I'm going to go eat dinner now. Bye.